My beloved child, you proved something today, not through a loud declaration, not through a public act, and not through strength that others could admire. You proved it by staying. When the moment became quiet, when nothing dramatic happened, and when no one was watching, you remained. You did not turn away simply because silence gave you permission to leave. You stayed when comfort whispered that nothing would change if you walked away. You stayed when distraction offered you an easier path. You stayed when your mind searched for something more exciting, more obvious, or more rewarding. Although you may not have noticed it, that quiet decision changed something within you. I saw it, and it mattered. Now I am asking for 3 full minutes of your attention. Not because I need to take something from you, but because I want to reveal something to you. Give me these minutes completely. Do not treat them as background noise. Do not listen with half your heart. Do not assume this is simply another message passing through your day. This moment is personal. It is not casual, and it is not empty symbolism. Something is happening beneath the surface, even if you cannot yet explain it. I am not holding your attention by force. I am drawing you with purpose. You are here because, somewhere inside you, a part of your heart chose not to leave. Staying has sacred consequences. When you remain with me after the excitement fades, you enter a different kind of closeness. I speak to the heart that is willing to stay when there is no applause, no visible sign, and no immediate reward. I meet the one who chooses presence even when the outcome is unknown. I watched you resist the urge to escape the weight of stillness. I watched you remain when your thoughts became restless. I watched you hesitate, question, and wonder whether anything meaningful was happening, yet you did not abandon the moment. You stayed long enough for silence to become more than silence. You stayed long enough to be seen. Many people step back when quietness deepens. They are comfortable with words, music, movement, and instruction, but they become uneasy when nothing is left except presence. They mistake stillness for emptiness. They believe that if nothing dramatic is occurring, then nothing important is occurring. But you did not make that mistake. You leaned closer without fully understanding why. You did not have every answer. You could not predict what you would feel. You did not know whether peace would come, whether tears would rise, or whether the moment would remain completely quiet. Still, you chose to be present. That choice revealed something more powerful than certainty. It revealed willingness. A willing heart can be guided because it does not demand control before offering trust. A willing heart does not need to understand everything before taking the next step. It simply remains open when fear says that leaving would be easier. So talk to me now, but do not search for impressive words. Do not repeat phrases merely because they sound spiritual. Speak with honesty. Tell me what is real. If you are tired, say that you are tired. If you are confused, admit your confusion. If you are afraid, bring the fear into the open. I am not offended by your truth. I am not disappointed when you admit that you do not understand. I am not threatened by the questions you have carried in silence. You do not need to protect me from your emotions. I already know every feeling that has passed through your heart. If you do not know what to say, then do not force speech. Stay. Silence with me is still communication. Your breathing speaks. Your hesitation speaks. The questions you cannot form into sentences still reach me. I am not measuring your vocabulary. I am listening beneath your words, where intention lives and where the heart cannot pretend. These 3 minutes may feel more intense than you expected. That intensity is not a warning that you are unsafe. It is what openness feels like when the walls begin to lower. When you stop managing every emotion, truth has room to move. When you stop hiding behind activity, you begin to notice what has been waiting inside you. You are not being exposed to shame. You are being exposed to light. Light can feel strong when you have spent a long time protecting certain rooms of your heart. It reveals weariness, disappointment, hope, fear, and longing. But I do not shine light to humiliate you. I bring light so that nothing inside you must remain alone. Do not confuse closeness with pressure. Do not confuse stillness with absence. Do not confuse emotional intensity with danger. You are safe here. Feeling shaken does not mean you are losing control. It may simply mean that something true has touched a place you have kept quiet for a long time. You have spent many days carrying thoughts that no one else could see. You have smiled while questions remained unanswered. You have continued moving while parts of your heart quietly asked for rest. Now the noise is becoming softer, and the hidden weight is becoming easier to recognize. Do not be afraid of that recognition. What you notice in silence was not created by the silence. It was already present. The stillness simply made room for you to hear it. What rises within you is not proof that you are failing. It is an invitation to stop carrying everything alone. You stayed longer than comfort usually allows. Comfort has a boundary. It welcomes you only while nothing asks you to grow. It encourages you to remain where everything is familiar, predictable, and easy to manage. But you crossed that boundary. You stayed when retreat would have been simpler. That quiet courage is not insignificant. Courage is not always a dramatic act performed in front of others. Sometimes courage is remaining seated when your mind tells you to run. Sometimes courage is breathing through uncertainty instead of filling the space with noise. Devotion is not always revealed by sacrifice that others can see. Sometimes devotion is revealed by attention. It is shown when you remain present without recognition. It is shown when you keep listening after emotional excitement has passed. It is shown when you choose connection over escape. No one else may ever know what it cost you to remain. No one may see the thoughts you had to quiet or the restlessness you had to face. But I saw it. I saw every moment when you almost left. I saw every moment when you chose to return. A few honest minutes can reveal what years of noise have hidden. Busyness can protect the heart from self-awareness. Routine can make words continue while attention disappears. You can move through familiar prayers, duties, and days without truly being present. Focused stillness removes the disguise. It shows what the heart is actually carrying. It reveals whether your words and your attention are moving in the same direction. It brings you back from automatic living and reminds you that relationship requires more than repeated actions. That is why I asked for 3 minutes. I was not testing how long you could endure. I was not asking you to prove your discipline. I wanted your focus. I wanted the part of you that cannot be divided among many voices. I wanted an honest meeting, not another task completed without awareness. 3 minutes may seem small, but they require a decision. They ask you to pause the endless movement of your day. They ask you to set aside what is demanding your attention. They ask you to say that, for this brief space of time, presence matters more than productivity. Attention is not mainly about effort, it is about priority. Whatever receives your full attention is being treated as important. In this moment, you chose me over noise, over avoidance, and over the endless pull of everything demanding to be noticed. That choice may seem small to you, but heaven measures the heart behind it. I saw the distractions calling. I saw tiredness pressing against you. I saw how easily you could have said that you would return later and moved on. Yet you remained. You did not stay perfectly, but you kept returning. Every time your thoughts wandered and you brought them back, you chose presence again. Every return was another quiet answer. Every return said that distraction would not have the final word. Returning is also a form of staying. Do not condemn yourself because your mind moved. Do not imagine that wandering thoughts cancelled the sincerity of your heart. The sacredness of these minutes does not come from flawless concentration. It comes from willingness. It comes from choosing, again and again, not to abandon the meeting. It comes from recognizing that your attention has drifted and gently bringing it home. That return reveals more sincerity than pretending that you were never distracted. I am not asking you to impress me. I am not comparing your words with the words of anyone else. I am not evaluating how calm you appear. I already know what is moving inside you. I know the questions you cannot explain. I know the fears you barely admit. I know the hope you protect because disappointment has made you cautious. I know the prayers you stopped speaking aloud because you were afraid of hoping too much. Nothing in you surprises me. Nothing you reveal makes me step backward. I knew your heart before you found the courage to examine it. I knew every contradiction, every longing, and every hidden wound, and I still invited you to come closer. Let those things rise. Do not push them away simply because they feel untidy. Fear can rise, hope can rise, relief can rise, uncertainty can rise. You do not need to organize everything before bringing it to me. Honesty is not disorder. Honesty is the doorway through which healing begins to enter. Healing cannot reach what you refuse to acknowledge. Peace cannot settle into a heart that is always pretending that nothing hurts. You do not have to arrive in my presence already repaired. You do not have to become calm before you are allowed to speak. You do not have to solve your confusion before you bring it to me. Come as you are, because truth is where real closeness begins. I am not threatened by your doubt. Questions do not drive me away. Confusion does not make me withdraw. I am closer to you in the struggle than you realize. You do not prove your faith by pretending to possess no uncertainty. Sometimes faith is simply staying close, while uncertainty remains unresolved. Sometimes faith says, I do not know what will happen, but I will not allow fear to separate me from your presence. That is not weak faith. That is faith learning how to breathe. You proved yourself not by doing something dramatic, but by remaining when nothing was promised except my presence. There was no visible reward pulling you forward. There was no audience encouraging you to continue. There was only this quiet invitation, and something in you answered, I will stay a little longer. That answer matters because presence is costly in a way that action is not. Action can be fueled by excitement, pressure, recognition, or habit. Staying without stimulation requires trust. It means you are willing to sit with what you cannot control. It means you do not demand an answer before you offer attention. You did not know whether I would speak in a way you could clearly recognize. You did not know whether the moment would feel powerful or ordinary. You did not know whether anything would change immediately. Yet you remained. That is evidence of trust, even if you did not call it trust while it was happening. Trust is not always confident. It does not always feel strong. It does not always come with certainty. Sometimes trust looks like quiet endurance. Sometimes it is the refusal to walk away merely because nothing is being explained. Sometimes trust is a heart that says, I do not understand this moment, but I will not leave simply because I cannot control it. I notice who remains when there is no instruction to follow, no task to complete, and no obvious benefit to gain. Many people are willing to act when they know exactly what to do. Fewer are willing to stay when there is only stillness. Stillness reveals whether the heart seeks connection or only an outcome. It shows whether you want my presence or merely what you hope my presence will give you. It reveals whether love can remain after immediate answers disappear. You stayed without knowing why it mattered, and that is one reason it mattered so deeply. You were not bargaining for favor. You were not performing to earn love. You stayed because something within you did not want to leave my presence. Even when my presence felt quiet, gentle, and beyond explanation, you remained. That tells me your heart is learning to value connection more than control. I am not impressed by noise. I am moved by attention. Attention is a form of love, because it says, for this moment, you matter more than everything trying to pull me away. Where your attention rests, your heart slowly learns to follow. What you repeatedly notice begins to shape you. What you repeatedly ignore slowly becomes distant. That is why the direction of your attention matters more than you realize. In a world that constantly divides your focus, 3 minutes of undivided attention become a powerful offering. You made that offering moment by moment. You resisted the urge to drift. You may think it was too small to mention, but I saw the cost behind it. What seems small to you can carry great weight when it is freely given. A quiet offering can reveal more love than a public promise. This was never about proving your worth. Your worth was not being tested. You have never needed to earn the right to be loved. These moments were about revealing your trust, not establishing your value. Trust becomes visible when you stay close before everything is clear, not after every question has been answered. It is easy to remain when the path is obvious. It is more difficult to remain when the next step is hidden. You trusted, even briefly, that my presence was enough. That trust is precious to me. I affirm you not to inflate your pride, but to steady your heart. Pride looks outward and asks who noticed. Trust looks inward and finds peace in being known. I am not saying that you are better than anyone else. I am saying that you responded honestly to this invitation. Honesty is the soil where intimacy grows. You did not stay because you felt completely strong. You stayed while questions remained. You stayed while emotions shifted. You stayed while one part of you wanted closeness, and another part wanted the safety of distance. That inner conflict did not disqualify you. It made your decision to remain even more meaningful. That kind of staying is not powered by confidence alone. It is powered by openness. Openness allows me to draw near without being resisted by the image you think you must maintain. It lets you be tired without pretending to be strong. It lets you be uncertain without pretending to possess every answer. It lets you admit that part of you is afraid while another part still reaches toward trust. Many people leave when nothing obvious is happening. They assume that without instruction, movement, emotion, or visible change, the moment has no value. But relationship is not built only through constant exchange. Sometimes relationship grows simply by being together, without an agenda, without performance, and without pressure to produce a result. Two hearts do not need constant noise in order to remain connected. I noticed you when nothing was demanded from you. That is where sincerity becomes clear. Anyone can respond when a command is given. Few remain when the invitation is simply, "Be here with me." You remained, and that created space for a deeper kind of closeness to begin forming. You stopped asking what you were expected to accomplish and began discovering what it means simply to be present. Intimacy does not overwhelm, rush, or force. It grows as trust grows. It becomes possible when you discover that you can stay with me without performing. You do not need to entertain me with constant words. You do not need to prove your devotion through emotional intensity. You only need to be honest and available. You may be tempted to minimize this moment. You may tell yourself that nothing special happened because there was no dramatic sign. Do not reduce the meaning of quiet things. Sacred moments rarely announce themselves with noise. They often arrive gently, ask for attention, and reveal their importance only later, after something inside you has already begun to change. You stayed when there was no applause. You stayed when no one would know whether you left. You stayed when comfort suggested that leaving would make no difference. That shows your devotion is beginning to move beyond visibility. You are learning to value presence, even when presence offers no immediate outcome. This moment is not a test score stored against your name. I receive it as a gift. You offered attention, time, and openness. Gifts given freely carry joy because they are not forced. I receive your imperfect attention with joy. Your thoughts wandered, your feelings moved, but your heart kept choosing to return. Do not think that staying means never struggling. Staying means refusing to let the struggle decide everything. It means you can feel restless and still remain. You can feel uncertain and still listen. You can feel emotionally exposed and still choose not to run. That is a mature form of courage, even when it feels small. Let this truth reassure you. You are not invisible to me. You are not unnoticed in ordinary moments. Even the minutes you consider insignificant can carry meaning when they are shared with me. I see the hidden decisions, the quiet returns, and the private battles that no one else knows you are fighting. I see the strength required to remain gentle when life has made you tired. A heart that stays can heal because it remains long enough to receive truth. A heart that stays can be guided because it does not flee at the first discomfort. A heart that stays can be trusted with deeper things because it is learning that closeness is safer than constant escape. Such a heart does not become perfect overnight. It simply becomes available. Remain in this truth without pressure. I am pleased, not because you performed something impressive, but because you chose presence over avoidance. That choice will continue shaping you in ways you cannot yet see. Small decisions of attention become pathways. Repeated over time, they form the direction of a life. Every time you pause instead of escaping, that pathway becomes clearer. Every time you listen instead of immediately reacting, your heart becomes more sensitive to truth. Every time you return after distraction, you strengthen the habit of presence. What begins as 3 minutes can slowly become a new way of living. I asked for 3 minutes because I wanted your focus, not your routine. Long routines can be valuable, but they can also continue after the heart has gone elsewhere. Words can be repeated while awareness disappears. Time alone does not measure devotion. Presence reveals whether you are truly there. You know how easily hours can pass while the heart remains distant. You can complete every responsibility and still feel disconnected from yourself. You can speak many words and still avoid the one truth that most needs to be spoken. Presence interrupts that pattern. 3 focused minutes require a fresh choice. Anyone can remain busy for hours. Anyone can repeat a familiar pattern, but giving undivided attention, even briefly, requires intention. It asks you to quiet what competes within you and decide that for this moment, nothing else will take first place. That decision reveals the heart more clearly than years of automatic habit. I was not testing your endurance. I was inviting you into presence. Divine testing is not about how much you can do to impress me. It reveals how close you are willing to remain when there is nothing to display and no one to praise you. Endurance can sometimes be driven by pride. Presence is driven by trust. Pride says, "Look how long I lasted." Presence says, "I am here with you." I did not ask for a performance of strength. I asked for undivided attention because attention cannot be fully given while it is being offered everywhere else. You cannot pretend for long when you are truly present. Full attention brings the real condition of the heart into view. Distractions rise. Restlessness speaks. Unfinished emotions appear. The desire to escape becomes noticeable. Yet every time you remain, you choose truth over avoidance and connection over control. I asked for only a small window of time because it was small enough to accept and meaningful enough to require something real. It removed the excuse that the invitation was too great. It simply asked one honest question. Will you be here with me fully, even for 3 minutes? Not tomorrow, not when everything becomes easier, but now. There is sacredness in simplicity. Sacredness is not created by complexity, length, or impressive language. It is created by intention and presence. These minutes became a meeting place because you allowed them to remain quiet. You did not fill every second with noise. You let the stillness breathe. When you give me your attention, things begin to align. Your breathing slows. Your thoughts become easier to notice. Your heart starts opening. You become aware of burdens you have carried so long that you stopped recognizing their weight. Awareness is not the final answer, but it is often the beginning of clarity. You cannot release what you refuse to recognize. You cannot receive comfort for pain that you continually deny. The purpose of stillness is not to make you suffer beneath the weight of everything you feel. It is to give you a safe place in which those feelings no longer need to hide. I do not reveal what is inside you so that you will condemn yourself. I reveal it so that you can stop carrying it alone. The tiredness, fear, disappointment, and guarded hope can all be brought into relationship. Nothing heals by remaining forever hidden behind constant movement. You may have learned to survive by staying busy. Movement may have protected you from memories that felt too painful or questions that seemed impossible to answer. But what protected you for one season can imprison you in another. There comes a moment when you must become still enough to discover that you are no longer alone. These 3 minutes revealed your willingness to remain present when nothing was demanded from you. That willingness spoke more clearly than 1,000 promises. You may think 3 minutes are insignificant, but I have always worked through moments. A brief encounter can redirect a life when the heart is truly awake. A moment of attention can realign what months of busyness have scattered. A moment of listening can change how you understand yourself. A moment of surrender can interrupt a pattern of escape. Do not underestimate what can be placed inside a small opening of time when you are no longer looking away. Life often changes through decisions that appear ordinary at first. A person pauses. A person listens. A person chooses honesty instead of denial. No crowd notices. No celebration follows. Yet from that moment forward, the direction of the heart begins to change. I wanted you to experience the difference between doing and being. Doing can be useful, but it can also become a hiding place. Being requires you to stop managing the impression you create and begin listening. In these minutes, you were not fixing, producing, or proving. You were simply present. You did not need to repair your entire life before coming close. You did not need to solve every problem before taking a breath. You did not need to become a different person. You only needed enough courage to stop running for 3 minutes. That presence allowed closeness to form without resistance. attention, is the doorway to intimacy. Relationship cannot deepen while you are constantly looking away. By offering focused attention, you opened that doorway. You showed that you were willing to loosen control and allow connection to become more important than certainty. Control says that you must understand before you trust. Intimacy says that trust can begin before complete understanding arrives. Control demands a map of everything ahead. Intimacy accepts the hand that is offered in the present moment. I know your mind wandered. I know thoughts arrived without invitation. I know you remembered tasks, worries, people, and unfinished responsibilities. I did not reject you for that. I watched what your heart did next. Each time you returned, you quietly said yes again. That returning mattered. It showed that distraction did not own you. It showed that you were capable of noticing when you had drifted. It showed that you could choose again without punishing yourself for losing focus. This is how awareness grows. Perfection did not make these minutes sacred. Honesty did. You did not need to pretend that you were peaceful when you were not. You did not need to hide the tension inside you. You allowed yourself to be known as you were, not as you thought you should be. That honesty invited me closer. A false image may impress people, but it cannot create true intimacy. Intimacy begins when the image is lowered and the real heart is allowed to breathe. You may feel vulnerable when that happens, but vulnerability in my presence is not a doorway to rejection. It is a doorway to being understood. I wanted you to feel anticipation, not pressure. Pressure demands performance and threatens rejection. Invitation creates space for a willing response. I do not force intimacy. I invite it. These minutes were not a demand to prove anything. They were an opening into deeper awareness, deeper trust, and deeper closeness. Anticipation says that something meaningful may be unfolding even before you can name it. It allows you to remain curious and receptive. Pressure says that you must create a result. I am not asking you to manufacture a feeling. I am asking you to stay available. Time feels different when you are fully present. 3 minutes can feel full, alive, and weighty because you are actually there. Distraction makes hours disappear without meaning. Presence allows a single moment to be received. Life is not only happening in the future, it is happening wherever your attention truly rests. How many moments have passed while your mind was somewhere else? How many conversations have ended before your heart fully arrived? How many days have been completed, but not deeply experienced? Presence brings you back to the life that is happening now. I am teaching you that connection does not always require long stretches of effort. It requires focused moments of attention. When those moments are repeated, they form a life of awareness. They train your heart to listen in the middle of noise, to pause before reacting, and to recognize my invitation when it comes quietly. 3 minutes today may become another 3 minutes tomorrow. A pause in the morning may become a quiet breath before a difficult decision. A brief moment of attention may become the place where fear loses its authority. This is how a life of closeness is built. You do not need to rearrange your entire life before you can meet with me. You need the willingness to offer your attention when I call you into stillness. That willingness opens doors you did not know existed. It shows you that closeness is more accessible than your fear has allowed you to believe. Do not wait for a perfect room, a perfect mood, or a perfect season. Perfection will always offer another reason to delay. Meet me in the middle of your real life. Meet me while responsibilities remain unfinished and questions remain unanswered. Do not rush past what these minutes revealed. They showed that you are capable of staying present. They showed that silence does not have to defeat you. They showed that you can remain with me without having every answer. Intimacy is not as complicated as you once imagined. It begins with attention. It begins when you stop demanding that every moment prove its value immediately. It begins when you allow quietness to have meaning before you understand it. It begins when you become willing to be known without first preparing a perfect version of yourself. Let this create anticipation rather than anxiety. If 3 honest minutes can carry this much meaning, consider what may grow when you choose presence again, not through strain, fear, or endless self-pressure, but through simple, repeated decisions to remain open and attentive. You do not need to force a dramatic transformation. Transformation often begins quietly. A seed does not make noise while it takes root. The heart can change before outward circumstances change. Trust can deepen before you fully recognize that it has begun. This was not an ending, it was an opening. It was a doorway into a deeper awareness of what you carry and of how close I already am. Now that you recognize the value of focused stillness, you will begin to notice how often I invite you into it during ordinary days. I may invite you while you are sitting alone. I may invite you before you answer someone in anger. I may invite you when worry begins to tighten your chest. I may invite you through a sudden desire to pause, breathe, and remember that you do not have to face everything alone. Remember what I wanted from you. I wanted your heart, not control of your schedule. I wanted your presence, not proof of your performance. You gave that presence freely, even imperfectly. That is why these minutes mattered. That is why they became sacred. What follows can now unfold with purpose, because attention created space. The heart cannot receive while it is continually turning away. But once the heart learns to stay, even briefly, it becomes available to truths that noise could never teach it. Yet this is often the place where many people begin to walk away. Not because they are unloved, and not because I push them aside. They leave because silence becomes uncomfortable when it asks for closeness. When instructions stop and nothing obvious is happening, the heart suddenly has nowhere else to hide. Quietness removes the protection of constant activity. It slows the outer world enough for the inner world to become audible. Feelings that were buried begin to rise. Questions that were postponed begin to speak. The person who has always stayed busy may suddenly realize how much has been waiting beneath the noise. That is why silence can feel heavy. It is not empty, it is revealing. It does not create every fear you feel. It often uncovers what was already there. Many mistake that unveiling for danger, so they reach for distraction, explanation, or movement. Anything feels easier than remaining fully known. A new task offers escape. A new sound breaks the stillness. A new conversation pushes the inner voice further away. But the heart remains waiting beneath it all, hoping that one day you will stay long enough to listen. You are beginning to learn another way. You do not have to run from what rises within you. You do not have to solve every feeling before bringing it into my presence. You can stay. You can breathe. You can allow truth to become visible without treating visibility as condemnation. The deeper the silence becomes, the more clearly you will see the difference between control and trust. Control demands to know what happens next. Trust remains present without a guarantee. Control protects the image you have built. Trust allows the real heart to be seen. This is the threshold you are approaching now. It is not a place of danger. It is a place where the defenses that once protected you begin to soften. You may feel uncertain because you are entering a form of closeness that cannot be managed through performance. You have already taken the first step by staying. You have discovered that quietness does not mean abandonment, and that closeness does not mean harm. You are learning that being seen can become a place of safety. Hold this truth gently, because it will carry you into what comes next. Do not rush forward, and do not retreat. Let the stillness deepen without fear. You are not alone in it. What feels like an empty space is becoming a meeting place. What feels like exposure is becoming understanding. What feels like uncertainty is becoming the beginning of trust. My beloved child, remain here. You have not been forgotten. You have not been overlooked. The quiet has not erased you. I am nearer than the noise ever allowed you to notice. Stay with me, not because you are forced, but because your heart is finally learning that it is safe to be fully present. My beloved child, as the silence deepens, you may begin to feel more than you expected. Thoughts you pushed aside may return. Emotions you believed were settled may rise again. Do not assume this means you are moving backward. Sometimes healing begins when you finally become still enough to recognize what has never truly left. You have learned how to keep moving. You have learned how to complete responsibilities while hiding exhaustion. You have learned how to smile while carrying questions no one else can see. You have learned how to appear composed even when something within you is trembling. Those habits helped you survive difficult seasons. Do not hate yourself for developing them. You did what you knew how to do. You protected your heart with distance, activity, and self-control because you were afraid that complete openness would leave you vulnerable to greater pain. But you are no longer standing where you once stood. The protection that was necessary in one season may now prevent you from receiving the closeness you need. A wall can keep danger out, but it can also keep comfort from entering. A locked door cannot decide what it refuses and what it welcomes. That is why I am not tearing down your defenses by force. I am inviting you to lower them slowly. I know how they were built. I know the moments that taught you not to trust too quickly. I know every disappointment that made you question whether closeness could ever be safe. I saw the times you gave your heart and felt misunderstood. I saw the times you spoke honestly and regretted it because your words were used against you. I saw the times you expected kindness but received judgment. Those experiences shaped the way you now approach intimacy. You may tell yourself that you are simply independent. You may say you do not need anyone to understand you. But beneath that strength, there may be a quieter fear. If no one comes too close, no one can disappoint you deeply. If no one fully sees you, no one can reject the person you truly are. That fear has protected you, but it has also made you lonely in places you rarely admit. You can be surrounded by people and still feel unseen. You can receive praise and still wonder whether anyone would remain if they knew what was happening behind your confident appearance. I know what is behind the appearance, and I have not left. I know the weakness you hide. I know the thoughts you are ashamed to admit. I know the moments when your faith feels strong and the moments when you question whether you can continue. Nothing I see causes me to withdraw. You do not need to present only your best qualities to me. You do not need to organize every emotion before entering my presence. Bring me the confusion, the anger, the disappointment, and the question. Bring me the parts of you that you believe are too complicated to explain. I am not asking you to celebrate your pain. I am asking you to stop hiding from it. Pain that remains hidden gains power through isolation. Pain that is brought into light begins to lose its authority. What is named can be understood, and what is understood can begin to heal. You may be afraid that admitting how deeply something hurt will make you weak, but denial has never been strength. True strength is the courage to acknowledge what wounded you without allowing the wound to determine your future. You are not defined by what happened to you. You are not only the person who was abandoned, rejected, ignored, betrayed, or disappointed. Those experiences touched your life, but they do not possess your identity. They are chapters in your story, not the author of your destiny. Let me meet you in those chapters. Do not rush past them as though they do not matter. I was there when you cried in silence. I was there when you pretended not to care. I was there when you told yourself to become stronger because you believed no one was coming to help. You may wonder why I did not stop every painful event. You may carry questions about moments when you needed an answer and heard only silence. I am not offended by those questions. You do not need to silence them in order to remain close to me. Speak them honestly. Tell me where you felt abandoned. Tell me where you expected protection. Tell me where your hope turned into disappointment. A relationship that cannot hold honest questions is not intimacy. I want the truth of your heart, not a performance of agreement. You may not receive every explanation immediately. Some answers require a perspective you do not yet possess. But even when an explanation is delayed, presence does not have to be delayed. You can be held before you understand. You can be loved while questions remain open. The need to understand everything has become another way you try to stay in control. You believe that if you can explain the pain, you can prevent it from touching you again. But the heart cannot always be healed through explanation alone. Sometimes healing begins through companionship. It begins when you discover that you can revisit a painful memory without facing it alone. The memory may not disappear, but its meaning begins to change because you are no longer trapped inside it without comfort. Stay with me when those memories rise. Do not judge yourself for still feeling something. Time does not automatically heal what has never been faced. Years can pass while the heart remains frozen at the moment it was wounded. You may have become older, wiser, and more capable, while one part of you still waits for the apology that never came. One part may still wonder why you were not chosen. One part may still ask what was wrong with you. Hear me clearly. The way someone treated you does not define your worth. Another person's inability to love you well is not proof that you were unworthy of love. Their limitations may have wounded you, but they cannot rewrite the truth of who you are. You were worthy before they recognized you. You remained worthy when they misunderstood you. You did not lose your value when they walked away. Human rejection can change circumstances, but it cannot cancel the worth I placed within you. I know that truth can be difficult to believe when rejection has become personal. Your mind may understand these words while your heart continues to question them. Do not force yourself to feel convinced immediately. Allow truth to enter slowly. Healing is often a process of hearing the same truth many times until the wounded place finally feels safe enough to receive it. Do not become impatient with yourself. A heart that has spent years expecting rejection may need time to believe that love will remain. I am patient with that process. I do not shame you for needing reassurance. I do not become frustrated when fear returns. Every time fear rises, you have another opportunity to choose trust. Not perfect trust, but enough trust to remain present. You may ask, what if I open my heart and become hurt again? That possibility is what makes vulnerability courageous. Vulnerability is not the belief that pain can never happen. It is the decision that fear will no longer control every relationship and every choice. Wisdom does not require you to trust everyone without discernment. You are allowed to establish boundaries. You are allowed to recognize harmful behavior. You are allowed to step away from those who continually disrespect your dignity. Forgiveness does not require you to invite danger back into your life. Love does not demand that you ignore patterns of manipulation. Compassion does not mean surrendering your safety. You can release bitterness without returning to the place where the wound was repeatedly created. The intimacy I invite you into does not erase wisdom. It strengthens it. When you know that you are loved, you no longer need to accept harmful treatment simply to avoid being alone. You become able to choose relationships from wholeness rather than fear. You are learning that closeness and boundaries can exist together. A healthy heart can remain tender without remaining unprotected. It can forgive without denying reality. It can hope without abandoning discernment. But before you can build healthier connections with others, you must stop running from your own heart. You cannot offer honest intimacy while refusing to be honest with yourself. You cannot explain your needs to others if you continually dismiss them within you. Listen to what your heart has been trying to say. Perhaps it is tired of being strong for everyone. Perhaps it is exhausted from always understanding others while rarely feeling understood. Perhaps it is carrying responsibilities that were never meant to belong to you. You may have confused love with constant sacrifice. You may believe that being good means never disappointing anyone. You may say yes while resentment grows because you fear that saying no will make you selfish. But love without truth eventually becomes exhaustion. Giving without boundaries eventually becomes bitterness. You cannot pour endlessly from a place that is never allowed to rest. I did not create you to disappear inside the needs of everyone around you. There is a difference between serving with love and abandoning yourself for approval. One flows from freedom, the other flows from fear. One gives because the heart chooses. The other gives because the heart is terrified of rejection. Ask yourself what has been driving you. Have you been helping because love moves you, or because you fear what people will think if you stop? Have you remained silent because peace matters, or because conflict makes you afraid of being abandoned? These questions are not meant to accuse you. They are meant to awaken you. Awareness allows you to see where fear has quietly shaped your behavior. Once you see it, you can begin choosing differently. You do not have to change everything at once. Transformation rarely happens through one dramatic decision. It happens through many small acts of honesty. It happens when you pause before giving an automatic answer. It happens when you recognize that your needs also matter. It happens when you stop apologizing for every boundary. It happens when you allow yourself to rest without believing that rest must be earned. It happens when you speak respectfully but clearly about what you can and cannot carry. You may feel guilty when you begin changing old patterns. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries may call your healing selfish. They may prefer the version of you who never said no, never questioned anything, and never asked to be treated with care. Do not allow their discomfort to become proof that you are wrong. Growth changes relationships. When you stop participating in unhealthy patterns, those patterns can no longer continue without resistance. Some people will understand, some will adjust, others may become distant. This can be painful, but not every distance is a loss. Sometimes distance reveals that a relationship depended more on your silence than on mutual love. I will give you wisdom to recognize the difference. Do not react from anger. Do not build new walls simply because old ones are falling. Healing is not becoming hard. Healing is becoming clear. A clear heart can say no without hatred. It can speak truth without cruelty. It can walk away without wishing destruction on the person left behind. It can grieve what was lost without returning to what was harmful. This is the kind of strength I am forming in you. Not a strength that hides emotion, but a strength that can feel deeply without becoming controlled by every feeling. Not a strength that dominates others, but a strength that remains grounded in truth. You may still cry. You may still miss people who were not good for you. You may still remember moments of tenderness within relationships that also caused pain. Healing does not require you to deny that good memories existed. Human relationships are often complicated. A person may have loved you in some ways and harmed you in others. You do not need to simplify the story in order to move forward. You can honor what was real while accepting what could not continue. Grief is not evidence that you made the wrong decision. Sometimes grief simply means that something mattered. You can grieve a future you once imagined. You can grieve the person you hoped someone would become. Allow yourself to grieve without interpreting every wave of sadness as a command to return. Feelings provide information, but they do not always provide direction. Missing someone does not automatically mean they belong in your life. Bring the grief to me. Let me sit with you in the place where words are insufficient. You do not need to rush toward positivity. You do not need to pretend that every ending feels like freedom immediately. Some freedom begins with tears. Some new beginnings feel lonely before they feel hopeful. Some doors must remain closed while your heart learns how to live without continually looking behind you. I know the temptation to return to familiar pain because unfamiliar peace can feel uncomfortable. The mind often prefers what it recognizes, even when what it recognizes is harmful. Chaos can become familiar enough to feel like home. When peace finally comes, you may mistake it for emptiness. You may believe something is missing because your body has become accustomed to anxiety. Do not rush to create new problems simply because calmness feels unfamiliar. Learn to remain in peace. Allow your mind and body to discover that safety does not need constant excitement. You do not need to chase people who create confusion in order to feel alive. Love is not supposed to keep you continually uncertain of your worth. Healthy closeness may challenge you, but it does not repeatedly destroy your sense of dignity. It does not demand that you become smaller in order to be accepted. You are allowed to desire relationships where care is mutual, communication is honest, and respect is consistent. You are allowed to desire a love that does not make you beg for basic kindness. But do not make another person responsible for completing what only I can establish within you. Human love is a gift, but it cannot carry the weight of becoming your entire identity. When you expect someone to prove your worth every day, fear begins controlling the relationship. Every delay feels like rejection. Every disagreement feels like abandonment. Every change in attention feels like evidence that love is disappearing. Let your worth become rooted more deeply than the changing responses of others. People will have good days and difficult days. They will sometimes misunderstand you. Even those who love you will not always meet every need perfectly. When you know who you are, disappointment can be addressed without becoming the destruction of your identity. You can communicate, forgive, adjust, or leave when necessary, without believing that another person's behavior determines your value. This inner security is not built through pride. It is built through being deeply known and still loved. That is why I invited you into silence. I wanted you to experience a presence that does not disappear when your hidden feelings become visible. I wanted you to discover that you can be completely honest and still remain accepted. I wanted the frightened parts of your heart to learn that exposure does not always lead to rejection. In my presence, truth and love are not enemies. I do not love an imaginary version of you. I love you while seeing everything clearly. My love is not based on ignorance of your weakness. I see every failure, every mixed motive, every moment when fear influenced you, and every decision you wish you could change. I see all of it, without reducing you to the worst thing you have done. You are responsible for your choices, but you are not permanently imprisoned by them. Repentance is not endless self-punishment. It is the courage to turn, to receive truth, and to walk in a new direction. You may believe that shame will keep you from making the same mistake again, but shame often keeps the heart trapped in the identity of failure. It says, "You did something wrong, therefore you are beyond restoration." Conviction speaks differently. It tells the truth about what happened, but it also reveals a path forward. It does not excuse harm, but neither does it declare that healing is impossible. You need to learn the difference. Shame drives you into hiding. Truth invites you into responsibility. Shame says you must punish yourself forever. Grace says you must face what happened, repair what you can, and allow your life to become different. If you harmed someone, apologize honestly. Do not defend what was wrong. Do not use spiritual words to avoid responsibility. Listen to the pain your actions caused. Make amends where possible. But after you have taken responsibility, do not create an identity from the mistake. You are more than your failure. If you remain trapped in self-hatred, you may continue repeating the same behavior because you believe change is impossible. I am calling you toward transformation, not humiliation. I want you free enough to recognize wrong without becoming destroyed by it. I want you humble enough to learn and hopeful enough to grow. This same grace must shape the way you view others. People are responsible for what they do, but they are also more complex than one moment. This does not mean you ignore patterns or remove necessary consequences. It means you resist the desire to become consumed by hatred. Hatred creates an ongoing connection with the person who hurt you. It keeps your mind returning to them, not with love, but with anger. Forgiveness is not pretending the wound did not matter. It is refusing to let the wound become the ruler of your future. It is releasing the demand that your peace depends on another person finally understanding what they did. They may never understand, they may never apologize, they may continue believing their own version of the story. Your healing cannot remain completely dependent on their awakening. This may feel unfair because part of you wants justice. The desire for justice is not wrong. Harm should be acknowledged. Truth matters. Consequences may be necessary, but revenge and justice are not the same. Justice seeks truth and restoration. Revenge seeks to create pain because pain was received. Revenge promises relief, but often leaves the heart more deeply tied to what it hates. Release revenge. You do not have to become the judge of another person's soul. You can pursue appropriate justice while surrendering the desire to destroy them. This surrender may need to happen many times. Forgiveness is sometimes a single decision, but emotional freedom often develops gradually. A memory returns, anger rises, and you must choose release again. Do not condemn yourself when the emotion returns. The return of anger does not mean you failed completely. It may mean another layer of the wound is becoming visible. Bring that layer into the light. Say honestly, "I am still angry." Do not hide behind polite words. Then ask what the anger is protecting. Beneath anger, there is often grief, fear, humiliation, or a sense of powerlessness. When you understand what lies beneath it, you can begin healing the deeper wound rather than only fighting the surface emotion. Perhaps your anger protects the child within you who was never defended. Perhaps it protects the part of you that promised never to be powerless again. Listen to that part with compassion, but do not let it control your future. Tell it that the danger has passed. Tell it that you are learning wisdom. Tell it that boundaries now exist. Tell it that remaining bitter is no longer the only form of protection available. You can protect yourself through clarity, truth, community, and discernment. You do not need hatred to keep you safe. Hatred consumes the same heart it attempts to defend. Let me teach your heart a stronger protection. Peace is not weakness. Peace is the ability to remain internally grounded, even when another person refuses to change. Peace does not mean you never feel anger. It means anger does not become your permanent home. Peace does not mean the past becomes acceptable. It means the past no longer controls every future decision. You are not required to forget in order to forgive. Memory can carry wisdom. Remembering what happened may help you recognize patterns and protect yourself from repeating them. But memory does not need to remain a weapon you turn against yourself every day. You can remember without reliving. You can learn without remaining emotionally trapped at the scene of the wound. This takes time. Be patient. Some days you will feel free, and another day an unexpected reminder may reopen the ache. Healing is not always a straight line. Progress can include difficult days. A painful emotion does not erase the distance you have traveled. The ocean rises and falls, but the tide can still be moving forward. Look at the larger direction of your life. Are you becoming more honest? Are you responding with greater wisdom? Are you recognizing unhealthy patterns sooner? Are you returning to peace more quickly? These are signs of growth. Do not measure healing only by whether you ever feel pain again. Measure it by whether pain still controls your identity and choices. You may carry a scar, but a scar is different from an open wound. A scar remembers what happened, yet it also testifies that healing has taken place. Do not be ashamed of your scars. They are not signs that you were weak. They show that something wounded you and that you continued living. One day, the place that caused you shame may become the place from which you offer compassion to someone else. Not because their story will be identical, but because you will understand what it means to need patience. Your pain does not automatically make you wise. Pain can make a heart bitter if it remains unexamined, but pain surrendered to truth can produce empathy, discernment, and humility. You will recognize the hidden exhaustion behind another person's anger. You will hear the fear beneath their silence. You will know that people sometimes appear strong because they are terrified of needing help. This understanding will not require you to rescue everyone. Compassion without wisdom can become another form of self-abandonment. You can care without taking responsibility for another person's entire life. You can listen without promising to solve everything. You can support without carrying what belongs to them. You can love them while allowing them to experience the consequences necessary for their growth. Do not confuse being needed with being loved. Some relationships may make you feel valuable only because someone depends on you. When they no longer need your help, you may fear you will lose your place in their life. That fear can lead you to keep people dependent. You may solve every problem before they are given the chance to grow. You may carry responsibilities that prevent them from developing strength. True love does not need another person to remain weak. It encourages growth, even when growth changes the relationship. It celebrates freedom rather than dependence. You are not called to become everyone's answer. You cannot heal every wound. You cannot force another person to choose truth. You can offer love, wisdom, and support, but you cannot live their life for them. Release the responsibility for outcomes you do not control. You have carried too many burdens that were never yours. You have believed that if someone failed, struggled, or became unhappy, you must have done something wrong. Sometimes you can do everything with sincerity and still be misunderstood. Sometimes you can offer help and watch someone refuse it. Sometimes you can love deeply and still experience an ending. Your faithfulness is not measured solely by the result. You are responsible for your choices, not for controlling every response. This truth will bring relief if you allow it to enter. Ask yourself what belongs to you and what belongs to others. Your honesty belongs to you. Their reaction does not. Your boundaries belong to you. Their opinion of those boundaries does not. Your willingness to forgive belongs to you. Their willingness to change does not. Your effort belongs to you. The final outcome may not. This does not make you passive. It makes your action clearer. You can do what is right without believing that you must control everything afterward. Control creates exhaustion because life contains too many variables for one person to manage. Trust allows you to act faithfully and release what lies beyond your reach. You may be afraid that releasing control means that everything will fall apart, but some things are already falling apart because control has become too heavy for you to maintain. You are exhausted from predicting every possible problem. You rehearse conversations before they happen. You prepare defenses for conflicts that may never come. Your body remains tense because your mind believes constant alertness will keep you safe. Hypervigilance may have developed when life felt unpredictable. Your nervous system learned to scan for danger. Even peaceful moments may now feel suspicious because part of you expects something to go wrong. Be gentle with yourself. Your body is not betraying you. It learned survival. Now it must slowly learn safety. This learning happens through repeated experiences of remaining present without catastrophe. Breathe slowly. Notice where your body holds tension. Do not demand that it relax immediately. Offer it patience. Remind yourself that you are here, not trapped in the past. Look around the room. Notice what is real now. The memory may feel present, but the event is not happening again. You have choices now that you may not have had then. You can leave. You can ask for help. You can speak. You can create boundaries. You can choose who has access to your life. You are not as powerless as the wounded part of you believes. Let this awareness settle into your body. Safety must become more than an idea. It must be experienced in small moments. Every time you pause and recognize that you are safe, you teach your body a new truth. Every time you respond instead of reacting automatically, you create a new pathway. This is another reason those 3 minutes mattered. You remained in stillness and discovered that the silence did not destroy you. You felt discomfort, but you survived it. You felt exposed, yet you were not harmed. You allowed emotion to rise, and you did not disappear. Your body began learning that presence can be safe. Do not underestimate this. What appears spiritually simple can have deep effects within your entire being. Your thoughts, emotions, and body are not separate enemies. They are parts of you that need compassion and truth. You may have been taught to ignore your body and treat every struggle as a failure of faith. But exhaustion, anxiety, and grief also affect the body. Rest, wise support, healthy routines, and professional care can all become part of healing. Seeking help is not proof that you lack trust. It can be an act of humility. You do not need to face every wound alone. I may bring healing through prayer, but I may also bring it through a wise counselor, a trustworthy friend, a doctor, or a supportive community. Do not reject help because it arrives through human hands. I often answer the need for connection by sending people who know how to listen without judgment. Discern carefully, because not everyone deserves access to your vulnerable places. Look for people whose lives show patience, wisdom, confidentiality, and consistency. A safe person does not rush your story. They do not make your pain about themselves. They do not use your vulnerability to gain power. They help you hear your own voice more clearly. You may need time to trust them. That is acceptable. Trust should be built through consistent evidence, not demanded through pressure. Anyone who becomes angry because you need time may not understand the nature of safety. Healthy people respect the pace of honest connection. As you receive safe support, the belief that you must carry everything alone will begin to weaken. You will discover that dependence and helplessness are not the same. Healthy interdependence allows people to support one another while each remains responsible for their own life. It creates connection without control. You were never designed to live without community. Isolation can feel safe because it reduces the risk of disappointment, but it also limits the possibility of shared joy. There are parts of healing that happen in solitude, and there are parts that happen when another person remains beside you. Allow both. Do not force yourself into connection before you are ready, but do not allow fear to make permanent decisions about your future. The fact that someone betrayed your trust does not mean trust itself is foolish. It means discernment is necessary. The fact that one relationship ended does not mean every relationship will end the same way. Your mind may try to predict the future using the most painful events of the past. It believes that expecting disappointment will protect you from surprise. But expecting pain does not prevent pain. It often prevents joy. It makes you leave emotionally before anything has happened. It causes you to interpret neutral moments as warning signs. Ask whether the fear in front of you belongs to the present or the past. Is this person truly behaving like the one who hurt you, or is your body reacting to a similarity? Discernment observes reality. Fear often fills in missing information with the worst possible conclusion. Learn to pause between the feeling and the decision. You do not have to obey every fearful thought. Thoughts are not commands. Emotions are not prophecies. They can be acknowledged without being followed. Say, "I feel afraid, but I will examine what is true." This creates space between your past and your present. In that space, wisdom can speak. You may discover that a current situation is genuinely unsafe. If so, respond clearly. But you may also discover that the person before you is offering a different experience from the one you expected. Allow new evidence to matter. Do not require every new person to pay the debt created by someone from your past. This does not mean becoming careless. It means allowing reality to be evaluated honestly, rather than assuming that history must always repeat itself. You are not condemned to repeat every pattern you inherited. Awareness gives you a choice. What was normal in your family does not have to become permanent in your future. Perhaps anger was the only form of communication you witnessed. Perhaps silence was used as punishment. Perhaps affection was conditional. Perhaps mistakes were met with shame. You may have learned to associate love with fear. You may now recreate familiar patterns because they feel emotionally recognizable, even when they are painful. But familiarity is not destiny. You can learn new ways to communicate. You can express disappointment without attacking. You can disagree without threatening abandonment. You can take time to calm yourself without using silence as a weapon. You can apologize without losing dignity. You can receive correction without collapsing into shame. These skills require practice. You may make mistakes while learning. Do not expect yourself to master in one day what you were never taught. Growth requires humility. When you react from an old pattern, recognize it quickly. Take responsibility, repair what you can, and choose differently the next time. Do not defend a harmful reaction merely because it was learned through pain. Your history explains your behavior, but it does not excuse every consequence. You can have compassion for why you developed a pattern while also deciding that the pattern must change. Compassion and responsibility belong together. This is mature healing. It does not blame the wounded child within you, and it does not allow that child to control every adult decision. You become the safe presence you once needed. You learn to speak to yourself with patience. You protect yourself with wisdom. You allow yourself to feel without surrendering leadership to fear. As this inner relationship changes, your outer relationships will also change. You will no longer chase people who offer only uncertainty. You will become less attracted to chaos because peace will no longer feel empty. You will recognize consistency as love rather than boredom. You will stop mistaking emotional intensity for intimacy. Intensity can be created by unpredictability, conflict, and fear of loss. Intimacy is built through truth, trust, patience, and repeated safety. It may feel quieter than the relationships you once knew, but quiet does not mean lifeless. Healthy love creates room to breathe. It does not keep you constantly proving your worth. It allows you to rest without wondering whether affection will disappear. You may need to learn how to receive this kind of love. At first, you may distrust it. You may search for a hidden condition. Be patient with yourself and communicate honestly. Say when fear is rising. A trustworthy person will not shame you for needing clarity, though they also cannot become responsible for calming every fear. You must learn to participate in your own security, receive reassurance, but also practice returning to truth within yourself. No human being can promise never to disappoint you, but a healthy relationship can include repair. Mistakes do not always require endings. When both people are honest, humble, and willing to change, conflict can deepen understanding rather than destroy connection. The absence of conflict is not the definition of peace. Peace is the presence of safety and truth within conflict. It allows difficult topics to be discussed without cruelty. It makes room for accountability and forgiveness. You deserve this kind of relationship, but you must also become capable of offering it. Ask not only whether others are safe for you, but whether you are becoming safe for them. Can someone disagree with you without being punished? Can they express a need without you interpreting it as rejection? Can they tell you that your action caused pain without you immediately defending yourself? Intimacy requires the courage to hear how you affect others. Your intention matters, but impact also matters. You may not have meant to hurt someone, yet their pain can still be real. Listen before explaining. Understanding does not always mean agreement, but it communicates respect. You can clarify your intention after you have made space for their experience. A sincere apology does not include a hidden accusation. It does not say, "I am sorry you felt that way." It says, "I understand that my action hurt you, and I take responsibility." This kind of humility does not reduce your worth. It strengthens trust. People feel safe when they know you are willing to repair what you damage. You will not do this perfectly, neither will they. Relationship is not the meeting of two flawless people. It is the meeting of two people willing to practice truth and repair. But willingness must exist on both sides. You cannot build mutual intimacy with someone committed to denial, manipulation, or repeated harm. At some point, love may require distance. Distance can become an act of truth when closeness continually enables destruction. Do not call every ending a failure. Some endings are the place where self-respect finally begins. Some goodbyes protect the future that your fear was willing to sacrifice. Grieve them, but do not worship them. Do not turn the closed door into the only story you tell about your life. A closed door can create space for a new path. An ending can expose needs you ignored. It can teach you what you must never again abandon within yourself. One day, you may look back and understand why certain relationships could not continue. You may see the patterns you were too emotionally involved to recognize at the time. Do not demand that understanding today. Walk with the light you have. Take the next honest step. Clarity often grows after distance. For now, return to this moment. Notice your breathing. Notice the quiet. You are still here. Everything within you does not need to be solved tonight. Some healing will continue after this moment ends. You are not expected to carry the entire journey at once. You only need enough courage for the step in front of you. Perhaps that step is admitting a truth. Perhaps it is resting. Perhaps it is asking for help. Perhaps it is forgiving yourself. Perhaps it is creating a boundary. Perhaps it is releasing someone whose place in your life has ended. Do not compare your step with another person's journey. What appears small from the outside may require tremendous courage within you. I see that courage. I see the cost of every honest decision. I know which patterns have held you for years. I know the fear that rises when you consider becoming different. Change can feel like betrayal when your identity was built around survival. Who will you be if you are no longer the one who rescues everyone? Who will you be if you stop proving your worth through achievement? Who will you be if you no longer carry pain as evidence of loyalty? These questions can make freedom feel uncertain. You may have built your identity around being needed, strong, successful, or endlessly dependable. Those qualities are not wrong, but they cannot carry the full weight of who you are. You are worthy even when you rest. You are loved even when you are not solving a problem. You still matter when you are not producing something others can praise. Allow this identity to become rooted within you. Your value is not a reward for exhaustion. You do not need to destroy yourself in order to prove devotion. I am not asking you to abandon responsibility. I am asking you to stop using responsibility as a substitute for relationship. You can work with excellence and still remain connected to your heart. You can serve others and still receive care. You can pursue goals without making achievement your God. Success cannot heal the fear of being unworthy. Recognition may quiet that fear for a moment, but it soon demands another accomplishment. The heart becomes trapped in an endless cycle. You reach one goal and immediately worry about the next, because stopping would force you to face the question underneath it all. Am I still enough when I am not achieving? Yes, my child, your worth existed before the achievement and remains after the applause fades. This truth does not make effort meaningless. It makes effort free. You can pursue meaningful work because it expresses your gifts, not because it must rescue your identity. You can receive praise without becoming dependent on it. You can receive criticism without allowing it to erase everything true about you. You can fail and learn rather than collapse. Failure becomes information, not a final judgment. It can reveal where growth is needed without declaring that you are worthless. This freedom will change the way you live. You will become more willing to try because you no longer need every attempt to succeed. You will become more creative because fear of judgment will lose some of its power. You will make decisions based on purpose rather than constant comparison. Comparison has stolen enough from you. You have looked at the visible chapters of another person's life and used them to judge your hidden struggles. You have compared their success with your waiting, their confidence with your uncertainty, and their beginning with your unfinished process. But you do not know the full story behind what you see. Everyone carries unseen battles. Comparison creates conclusions from incomplete information. Your path has its own timing. Delay is not always denial. A season of preparation may look empty because the most important work is happening beneath the surface. Roots grow where no one applauds. Character is formed in places that receive no recognition. What feels hidden may be preparing you to carry what visibility would otherwise destroy. Do not despise the quiet season, the silence that once frightened. You may become the place where your foundation is strengthened. You are learning to remain with me before the answer comes. That ability will protect you when success arrives. Without inner grounding, external blessing can become another source of fear. You would spend your life terrified of losing what you received. But when your identity is rooted deeper than circumstances, you can hold success with open hands. You can enjoy a gift without worshipping it. You can release it if the season changes. You can remain yourself whether people celebrate you or overlook you. This is freedom. It does not mean you stop caring. It means your heart is no longer owned by every changing circumstance. You can feel disappointment without becoming hopeless. You can celebrate without fearing that joy will be punished. You can love without controlling. You can grieve without losing your identity. You can wait without assuming you are forgotten. You can enter uncertainty without abandoning yourself. This is what presence is forming within you. The 3 minutes were never only about 3 minutes. They were a doorway into a new way of responding to life. Instead of escaping every uncomfortable feeling, you can remain long enough to understand it. Instead of reacting immediately, you can pause. Instead of assuming silence means abandonment, you can discover that silence may hold guidance. Instead of demanding control, you can listen for the next faithful step. These practices will shape your relationships, decisions, work, and inner life. They will not remove every difficulty, but they will change the person who meets the difficulty. You will become less easily controlled by urgency. Not everything demanding an immediate response deserves one. You will learn to distinguish between true urgency and anxiety. Anxiety says everything must be solved now. Wisdom asks what actually belongs to this moment. Sometimes the wisest response is action. Sometimes it is waiting. Sometimes it is gathering more information before deciding. Sometimes it is refusing to participate in a conversation while emotions are too intense for truth to be heard. A pause is not always avoidance. A conscious pause can protect connection. It gives anger time to settle and clarity time to rise. But the pause must not become permanent silence used to punish others. Return to the conversation when you are able. Speak with honesty. Say what happened within you, instead of only accusing the other person. Use words that reveal rather than attack. Say, I felt dismissed, rather than, you never care. Say, I need time, rather than disappearing without explanation. These changes may feel unnatural at first. Old patterns are automatic because they have been practiced many times. New patterns require attention. Do not become discouraged by the effort. Every conscious response weakens the old pathway and strengthens the new one. This is how transformation becomes visible, not through a single emotional moment, but through repeated choices made after the moment ends. The silence gives you awareness. Daily life gives you the opportunity to practice it. You will know that healing is becoming real when your responses begin to change. You may still feel fear, but you no longer obey it immediately. You may still feel anger, but you do not use it to wound. You may still desire approval, but you do not abandon your values to receive it. You may still experience sadness, but you allow support to reach you. These are signs that your inner world is becoming more integrated. You are no longer fighting yourself as an enemy. Your emotions become messengers rather than masters. Your thoughts become experiences rather than unquestioned truths. Your body becomes something to care for, not something to ignore. Your spirit becomes more attentive because noise no longer controls every moment. You begin to live from a place of connection. This connection will not always feel intense. Do not become addicted to powerful emotions. Closeness is not measured by how strongly you feel every day. There will be quiet days when nothing seems unusual. There will be days when prayer feels ordinary and stillness feels simple. Remain then also. Do not assume that emotional calmness means the relationship has disappeared. Love is often most faithful when it is least dramatic. A mature relationship does not require constant signs. It rests in trust built through repeated presence. You will still have moments when you feel distant. When that happens, return without shame. You do not need to punish yourself before coming close again. The doorway remains open. Begin with one honest breath. Say, "I am here." That is enough to begin again. Returning is one of the deepest forms of faithfulness. You may wander many times, but you can always turn back toward presence. Do not let the number of times you drift become more important than the fact that you continue returning. Each return teaches your heart where home is. Each return reminds you that distraction, failure, and fear do not have the final word. You are not held by perfection. You are held by love, and love keeps inviting you back into truth. Now feel how different the silence has become. At first it seemed empty, then it felt uncomfortable, then it began revealing what you carried. Now it is becoming spacious. It is no longer only the absence of noise, it is the presence of permission. Permission to stop performing, permission to feel, permission to admit that you need healing, permission to rest without explaining yourself. This is sacred rest. It is not laziness. It is the place where your strength is renewed because you stop pretending that you are limitless. You have limits because you are human. Limits are not defects. They remind you that you are not meant to be everything for everyone. Accepting your limits will help you become faithful to what truly belongs to you. You will stop wasting energy on roles you were never called to fill. You will have more strength for the people and purposes that genuinely require your attention. A life without boundaries becomes scattered. A life guided by truth becomes focused. Focus does not mean doing more. It often means choosing what not to carry. Release what is not yours. Release the opinions you cannot control. Release the timelines you cannot force. Release the need to understand every reason. Release the fantasy that a perfect decision will protect you from every difficulty. Every path contains uncertainty. Wisdom is not the elimination of uncertainty. Wisdom is the ability to walk with integrity when certainty is unavailable. You choose based on truth, values, discernment, and the light you have. Then you move forward without endlessly punishing yourself for not knowing the future. You are allowed to make the best decision available and adjust when new information comes. This flexibility is not weakness, it is humility. It acknowledges that you are learning and that growth may require change. Do not remain trapped in a harmful choice simply because you are embarrassed to admit that it was wrong. Changing direction can be an act of wisdom. You do not lose dignity by learning, you gain maturity. Pride insists on defending every past decision. Humility values truth more than appearance. I am leading you into that humility. It will make you teachable without making you easily controlled. You can listen to advice without surrendering your responsibility to discern. You can receive correction without allowing someone else to define you. You can admit uncertainty without becoming dependent on every opinion. You can seek wisdom while remaining connected to your own conscience. This balance will protect you. Some people speak with confidence but lack understanding. Do not confuse certainty of tone with truth. Examine the fruit of their guidance. Does it produce wisdom, dignity, compassion, and responsibility? Or does it create fear, dependence, shame, and control? Truth can challenge you deeply, but it does not need to manipulate you. Guidance should lead you toward greater maturity, not permanent dependence on the one giving it. I want you able to stand in truth, not constantly searching for another human voice to tell you who you are. Wise teachers can help you, but they should not replace your relationship with truth. Advice can illuminate, but it cannot live your life. Return often to stillness. Listen beneath the noise of opinions. Ask what aligns with wisdom, integrity, and love. Not every opportunity is meant for you. Not every open door should be entered. Some doors lead away from the peace you are learning to protect. Excitement is not the same as alignment. An opportunity may appear impressive while requiring you to abandon values, health, or important relationships. Pay attention to what the choice demands from your soul. Success that requires you to become someone you do not respect is too expensive. Choose the path that allows you to remain honest. This may not always be the fastest path. It may not receive immediate approval, but peace has a language. It does not always feel comfortable, especially when courage is required, but it carries a deeper steadiness. Fear may still exist beside peace. Courage often means moving while fear is present. The presence of fear does not automatically mean the choice is wrong. Ask whether the fear comes from danger or from growth. Danger tells you that something violates truth or safety. Growth fear appears when you are stepping beyond an old limitation. Learn the difference through patience and reflection. Do not decide from panic. Return to the quiet place where your heart can hear more clearly. You now know that stillness is not empty. It is where motives become visible. It is where confusion begins to separate into clearer truths. It is where you remember that you do not need to answer every voice. The loudest voice is not always the wisest. Urgency, fear, pride, and wounded desire can all speak loudly. Wisdom often speaks with quiet consistency. It does not manipulate. It does not shame. It invites you to become honest about the cost and the purpose of your decision. As you practice listening, you will become more sensitive to this quiet guidance. Do not expect complete certainty every time. Sometimes guidance comes as enough light for one step. Take that step, then listen again. A path is often revealed through movement, not before it. You wanted the entire map because the map seemed like safety. But a map cannot replace trust. Even with a map, circumstances change. Trust teaches you that you can respond when they do. You are not safe only when everything is predictable. You are safe because you are becoming grounded, discerning, and connected. This does not guarantee a life without pain. I will not offer you a false promise. You will still face endings, misunderstandings, disappointment, and loss. But pain will no longer meet the same version of you. It will meet someone who knows how to remain present, ask for help, create boundaries, and return to truth. It will meet someone who no longer interprets every ending as proof of worthlessness. It will meet someone who can grieve without abandoning hope. You are becoming that person. The transformation may be quiet, but it is real. Do not dismiss it because others cannot see it yet. Roots develop before fruit becomes visible. Continue tending what is growing within you. Protect moments of stillness. Do not fill every open space with noise. Allow yourself to sit without immediately reaching for distraction. Begin with a few minutes. Some days those minutes will feel peaceful. Other days they will expose restlessness. Both experiences can teach you. You are not trying to force a particular emotion. You are practicing availability. You are saying, I am willing to hear what is true. This practice will help you recognize when your life becomes misaligned. You will notice exhaustion before complete collapse. You will notice resentment before it becomes cruelty. You will notice fear before it controls a major decision. Awareness gives you the chance to respond earlier. You no longer need to wait until everything becomes unbearable. You can rest before breaking. You can communicate before withdrawing. You can ask for support before isolation becomes deep. This is wisdom expressed through attention. The heart that stays becomes capable of hearing small warnings and gentle invitations. The life that always rushes hears only emergencies. The life that practices stillness can respond while change is still possible. My beloved child, you stayed. And because you stayed, you began to see. Because you saw, you can now choose. This is the gift hidden inside attention. It returns your life to you. It shows where fear has been deciding and where love can begin leading. Do not be afraid of what you have discovered. You are not being shown your wounds to become overwhelmed. You are being shown them because you are ready to stop allowing them to guide you from the shadows. Awareness is an invitation to freedom. Freedom does not mean the past never speaks again. It means the past no longer speaks alone. truth now answers it. When the past says, everyone will leave, truth says, some people left, but not everyone will repeat their choices. When shame says, you are your worst mistake, truth says, you are responsible, but you are also capable of repentance and growth. When fear says, control everything or you will be destroyed, truth says, you can prepare wisely without carrying the entire future. When loneliness says, return to anything familiar, truth says, familiar pain is not better than unfamiliar peace. When exhaustion says, your worth depends on continuing, truth says, rest does not erase your value. Let these truths become responses you practice. At first, fear may speak more quickly. That is because it has been rehearsed for years. But every time you answer it with truth, a new pattern becomes stronger. Eventually, truth will become easier to recognize. You may not believe every word fully today. That is all right. Faith can begin as a willingness to consider that another story is possible. You do not need complete confidence to take the next healthy step. You need enough openness to stop repeating what you already know is destroying you. The next step may feel small. Take it. A truthful conversation, a scheduled appointment, an hour of rest, or a boundary written clearly can become the beginning of a different future. Do not wait for a dramatic feeling of readiness. Readiness often develops after you begin. Courage is strengthened through use. You became brave by staying in these minutes. Now carry that same courage into your daily life. Stay with the conversation that requires honesty. Stay with the healing process when progress feels slow. Stay with your values when approval disappears. Stay with hope when circumstances remain unclear. But do not confuse staying with remaining in abuse, manipulation, or danger. Stay with truth. Sometimes staying with truth requires leaving a harmful place. Sometimes faithfulness to your healing requires ending a pattern. The heart must learn what to remain with and what to release. Remain with love, integrity, responsibility, and hope. Release shame, revenge, false guilt, and the demand to control what belongs to others. Remain open to wisdom. Release voices that profit from your fear. Remain compassionate. Release the belief that compassion requires self-destruction. Remain humble. Release the idea that humility means becoming invisible. Remain available to connection. Release access for those who repeatedly misuse it. Remain forgiving. Release the obligation to return to danger. Remain committed to growth. Release the expectation of perfection. This balance will shape a life that is tender and strong. You do not have to choose between softness and wisdom. You can possess both. You can care deeply and still say no. You can forgive and still remember the lesson. You can love someone and recognize that closeness is no longer healthy. You can wish them healing without offering them the same access to your life. Love does not always require proximity. Some love is expressed through prayer, distance, and the refusal to continue a destructive cycle. This may be one of the hardest forms of love because it cannot rely on emotional comfort, but it can protect the dignity of everyone involved. It prevents resentment from growing through forced closeness. It allows consequences to teach what your constant rescue prevented someone from learning. Trust that you do not have to solve every ending perfectly. Some stories remain unfinished. Some apologies never arrive. Some questions remain open longer than you hoped. Your peace cannot depend on every loose end being tied. You can move forward with unanswered questions. You can create meaning without complete explanation. You can carry mystery without allowing it to become torment. Say, I do not understand everything, but I will not stop living. This is not denial, it is acceptance of your human limits. There are truths that time may reveal, and others that may remain beyond your understanding. Do not spend your entire life standing at a closed door demanding an answer. Turn toward what is still alive before you. There are people to love, gifts to use, and moments to receive. The past deserves honesty, but it does not deserve every remaining day. Honor what happened by allowing it to teach you, not by allowing it to imprison you. You are still here. That fact contains possibility. As long as you are here, a new response can be chosen. A new pattern can begin. A relationship can be repaired if both hearts are willing. A harmful cycle can end with you. A dream can change form without losing meaning. A life can become beautiful even if it looks different from what you once imagined. Do not confuse a changed plan with a ruined life. Sometimes the path you wanted would have required you to remain someone you were meant to outgrow. Loss can clear space for a truer future, though it rarely feels that way at first. Trust the process without pretending that the grief is easy. You are allowed to mourn the plan you loved, but after mourning, lift your eyes. Ask what remains possible now. Life is not finished because one chapter ended. Your identity is not buried inside a single opportunity, relationship, or role. You are larger than the version of life you once expected. New meaning can emerge from places you did not choose. This does not make every painful event good. It means pain does not possess the final power to define what comes afterward. You can build something honest from what remains. You can become more compassionate without becoming bitter. You can become more discerning without becoming suspicious of everyone. You can become stronger without becoming emotionally unreachable. This is the transformation I desire. Not a harder heart, but a freer one. Not a heart that feels nothing, but a heart that is no longer ruled by fear. A free heart can love because it does not need to control the outcome. It can offer kindness without demanding repayment. It can receive love without immediately searching for the moment it will disappear. It can rest in the present without continually preparing for disaster. You are moving toward that freedom. Even now, as you listen, something within you is recognizing truth. Perhaps you feel relief. Perhaps you feel resistance. Both can happen when an old identity begins to loosen. Do not fight the resistance with shame. Ask what it is protecting. Maybe it fears that healing will erase the importance of what happened. Tell it that healing does not call the wound insignificant. Healing honors the wound by refusing to let it keep causing harm. Maybe resistance fears that forgiving means the other person wins. Tell it that bitterness is not victory, freedom is. Maybe resistance fears that rest will make you fall behind. Tell it that exhaustion is not the only proof of commitment. Speak gently to these fears. You do not heal by becoming violent toward yourself. Harshness may create temporary obedience, but it does not create lasting peace. You need discipline, but discipline can be compassionate. It can say, "We will take the healthy step, even though it feels uncomfortable." It does not need to say, "You are terrible for struggling." Shame weakens the heart. Compassionate discipline strengthens it. Treat yourself the way you would guide someone you deeply love. Be honest about what must change, but remain patient with the learning process. You are not a machine being repaired. You are a person being restored. Restoration involves memory, emotion, body, relationship, and time. Some days will require action, others will require rest. Some will require conversation, others will require silence. Do not force every day to look the same. Listen for what is needed. Faithfulness can take different forms in different seasons. There may be a season to build and a season to release, a season to speak and a season to wait, a season to remain close and a season to create distance. Wisdom recognizes the season instead of repeating the same response everywhere. What protected you yesterday may limit you today. What felt like courage in one moment may become avoidance in another. Continue listening. Stay teachable. You are not required to possess one answer for every circumstance. Your growth will continue to ask you to become present. Presence is how you notice when the season changes. Without presence, you may continue fighting battles that have already ended. You may keep protecting yourself from people who are no longer there. You may carry responsibilities whose season has passed. You may remain loyal to an identity that no longer reflects who you are becoming. Presence allows you to ask, what is true now? Not what was true 5 years ago, not what fear predicts, but what is true in this moment. This question can return you to reality. Reality may still be difficult, but it is often more workable than the disasters created by imagination. When you remain in reality, you can identify the next step. You can stop solving 10 imagined futures and address the situation before you. This will conserve your strength. Anxiety spends tomorrow's energy on problems that may never arrive. Presence brings that energy back. You can prepare wisely without living in constant anticipation of pain. Planning and worrying are not the same. Planning identifies what can be done. Worry repeats possibilities without movement. Planning has a conclusion. Worry continually demands another round of thought. When you recognize that you are no longer planning but spiraling, return to your breath. Ask what action is available now. If no action is available, practice release. Say, "I have done what I can today." Then allow your body to rest. This may feel irresponsible if anxiety has taught you that constant thought equals care. But endless worry does not protect the people you love. It only drains the strength you need to respond when real needs arise. Rest is preparation when it restores your ability to act with wisdom. My child, you do not have to remain awake in order to hold the world together. Your vigilance is not what keeps the universe moving. Sleep, eat, breathe, step outside. Allow simple beauty to reach you. Healing is not only found in serious reflection, it is also found in laughter, sunlight, music, movement, and ordinary moments of safety. Do not become so focused on your wounds that you forget you are still capable of joy. Joy does not betray your pain. You are allowed to laugh while healing. You are allowed to experience beauty before every question is answered. You do not need to wait until life becomes perfect before receiving what is good today. Joy can coexist with grief. A heart can miss someone and still smile. It can carry uncertainty and still feel gratitude. Human emotion is spacious enough to hold more than one truth. Do not force yourself into only sadness because you believe it proves that something mattered. What mattered remains meaningful even when joy returns. Your healing does not erase your love. Moving forward does not mean forgetting. It means allowing the story to continue. Let joy become part of your restoration. Notice small signs of life around you. Notice the warmth of a drink, the sound of rain, or the kindness of a friend. These moments are not insignificant. They teach your nervous system that the world contains more than danger. They remind your heart that life is not only a problem to solve, it is also a gift to experience. You have spent enough time merely surviving. Survival may have been necessary, but it does not have to become your permanent identity. You can learn to live again. Living means becoming present to both risk and beauty. It means accepting that control is limited while possibility remains. It means allowing love to matter even though loss exists. It means choosing hope without demanding guarantees. Hope is not certainty that everything will happen exactly as you desire. Hope is the conviction that meaning, growth, and love remain possible even when the path changes. This hope is stronger than optimism. Optimism may depend on favorable circumstances. Hope can remain during difficulty because it is rooted in something deeper. You have already practiced hope by staying. You remained without proof that the silence would become meaningful. You offered attention before receiving an answer. That is what hope often looks like. It stays open before it understands. Carry that openness forward. Do not close your heart because the future is uncertain. Let uncertainty become space where new possibilities can emerge. You are not required to predict the form those possibilities will take. Your responsibility is to remain truthful, responsive, and willing. The path will unfold as you walk. Some steps will confirm the direction, others will teach you to adjust. Nothing learned honestly is wasted. Even a wrong turn can develop wisdom when you are willing to reflect and change. Do not fear making every possible mistake. Fear can prevent you from living. Make decisions carefully, but accept that being human includes imperfection. You can recover. You can apologize. You can learn. You can begin again. The possibility of repair gives you permission to move. You are not walking alone, though loneliness may sometimes tell you otherwise. Presence remains available wherever you are. Return to the 3 minutes. Return to the quiet invitation. You do not need a special place. Pause in the middle of the day. Put down what you are carrying for a moment. Let your attention come home. Say what is true. Listen without forcing an answer. Allow your breathing to remind you that life is happening now. These small meetings will become anchors. When the world becomes loud, you will remember where peace begins, not in the elimination of every problem, but in the return to connection. You will remember that you do not have to abandon yourself when pressure rises. You can remain present. You can choose one honest step. You can allow help. You can rest without disappearing. This is the life being formed within you. It will not always be visible to others, but they may begin noticing its fruit. They may notice that you respond more slowly and listen more deeply. They may notice that you no longer become controlled by every criticism. They may notice that your kindness has boundaries and your strength has tenderness. They may feel safer because you are no longer at war with yourself. Some may be uncomfortable because the old version of you was easier to control. Let them be uncomfortable. You are not responsible for preserving every pattern that made others comfortable. Remain respectful, but do not return to self-abandonment. Growth may require disappointing expectations that were built on your silence. You are not becoming unloving. You are learning how to love without losing yourself. That is healthier for everyone. A relationship that can survive only through your disappearance is not sustained by true connection. The people meant to grow with you will learn to meet the more honest version of you. They may need time. Give them space where appropriate, but do not negotiate away your dignity to prevent change. You have stayed long enough in places where you were tolerated only when you remained small. It is time to stand in truth without aggression and without apology. You do not need to prove your worth through argument. Live it. Let your choices reveal that you now believe your life matters. Choose environments that support health. Choose people who respect boundaries. Choose work that does not require the destruction of your soul. Choose rest before complete exhaustion. Choose honesty before resentment. Choose the difficult conversation before years of silent distance. Choose yourself, not in selfish isolation, but as someone whose life is also entrusted to your care. You are responsible for how you treat the person within you. Do not continue speaking to yourself in ways you would never speak to someone you love. Your inner voice shapes the place where you must live every day. Let it become truthful and compassionate. Replace insults with clear accountability. Replace hopeless predictions with realistic encouragement. Say, I made a mistake and I can learn. Say, this hurts and I am allowed to need support. Say, I feel afraid, but fear does not know the entire future. Say, I am tired, and rest is a wise response. These words may feel unfamiliar, but practice them. Your mind learned cruelty through repetition. It can learn compassion through repetition also. Compassion does not remove standards. It creates the safety necessary to meet them. People grow better through truth and support than through humiliation. Offer yourself both. Be honest about where you are and remain hopeful about where you can go. You do not need to become everything today. Let today be one honest day. Let this moment be one honest moment. The future is built from moments like this. You stayed, you listened, and you allowed yourself to be known. Now carry that honesty into the next choice. When fear says to hide, pause. When shame says to punish yourself, return to truth. When urgency says to react, breathe. When loneliness says to return to harm, remember the peace you are learning. When pride says never apologize, choose humility. When exhaustion says you must keep proving yourself, choose rest. This is how your life will change, quietly, steadily, and deeply. Not through one perfect day, but through repeated returns. My beloved child, I saw you stay. I saw you struggle and still remain. I saw the walls lower one small piece at a time. I saw the fear that told you to protect yourself, and I saw the deeper desire that chose closeness. That desire is still alive within you. Protect it. Feed it with truth. Let it lead you toward relationships, choices, and habits that make genuine connection possible. Do not return to hiding simply because healing feels unfamiliar. Do not rebuild every wall because vulnerability feels tender. Tenderness is not the same as danger. The heart may feel sensitive because it is becoming alive again. Treat that sensitivity with care. Do not hand it carelessly to everyone, but do not bury it. Let it become discernment, empathy, and courage. You are allowed to move slowly. Deep healing does not need to be rushed. A rushed heart may repeat old patterns simply to escape uncertainty. Stay patient. Let consistency matter more than intensity. Look for what remains true over time. Trust actions that match words. Trust peace that does not require denial. Trust relationships where honesty is welcomed. Trust the growing ability within you to recognize what brings life and what continually diminishes it. You are learning. You will not always choose perfectly, but you are no longer completely unaware. Awareness changes everything. What once controlled you invisibly can now be questioned. What once felt inevitable can now become a choice. You can stop. You can examine. You can choose again. This is freedom beginning in its most practical form. It begins before circumstances change. It begins when the heart realizes, I am not required to repeat this. You are not required to chase. You are not required to hide. You are not required to remain where your dignity is continually denied. You are not required to punish yourself forever. You are not required to control every outcome. You are invited to live awake. You are invited to remain present. You are invited to love with wisdom and receive love without fear. You are invited to become honest enough to heal and humble enough to accept help. You are invited to rest. Receive the invitation. Do not turn it into another performance. You do not need to prove that you have healed perfectly. Simply continue. Continue returning. Continue listening. Continue choosing what is true. There will be moments when old fear becomes loud again. Do not interpret that as complete failure. Healing is tested in real life. Each difficult moment gives you a chance to practice what you discovered here. You may not respond perfectly, but you can recognize sooner and repair more quickly. Progress is not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of new choices within the struggle. You now have more than one response available. You can breathe instead of panic. You can speak instead of disappearing. You can ask for time instead of attacking. You can seek support instead of isolating. You can release instead of obsessing. These choices will become stronger with practice. One day, what now requires great effort will begin to feel natural. You will look back and realize that you no longer live from the same fear. The memory may remain, but the pattern will have changed. That day will not arrive through force. It will arrive through faithfulness to small moments. 3 minutes of attention. 1 truthful sentence. 1 boundary honored. 1 night of necessary rest. 1 apology. 1 decision not to return to harm. 1 act of courage repeated until a new life begins to form. Do not despise these small things. A life is composed of moments. Transformation occurs when moments begin moving in a new direction. You have already changed direction by staying. You chose presence over escape. You chose honesty over performance. Now keep walking. The path does not require you to know every step. It requires you to remain connected to truth. When you become confused, pause again. When you become tired, rest. When you become afraid, speak honestly. When you make a mistake, return. When you experience joy, receive it without guilt. When love arrives, allow it to grow slowly and wisely. When an ending comes, grieve and release. When a new beginning appears, do not demand that it guarantee everything. Meet life as it comes, grounded in the truth that your worth is not continually on trial. You are not entering every room to prove that you deserve to exist. You already carry dignity. Walk with humility, but do not shrink. Listen to others, but do not abandon your own conscience. Give generously, but do not disappear. Love deeply, but do not control. Forgive freely, but do not deny reality. Hope courageously, but do not force outcomes. This is balance. This is maturity. This is the fruit of a heart that has learned to stay. The heart that stays does not become passive. It becomes rooted. Roots allow the tree to bend without breaking. Storms may still come, but you will not be carried away by every wind. Your stability will come from depth, not from the absence of difficulty. Deep roots are formed in hidden places. Do not become discouraged when no one sees the work happening within you. You do not need public recognition for private healing. Let the work be real before it becomes visible. One day, your peace will speak without explanation. Your boundaries will reveal what you have learned. Your choices will show that fear no longer leads. Until then, remain patient with the hidden process. A foundation is valuable even when it cannot be admired. I am building within you the capacity to carry love, responsibility, and purpose without losing yourself. The things you once prayed for may require a healthier version of you. The delay may be preparing your inner life to receive them without fear. Do not resent the preparation. You are not being forgotten. You are being strengthened in places success cannot repair later. Receive the lesson of silence. Receive the gift of being known. Receive the truth that you do not need to perform for love. Let these truths settle deeper than emotion. Emotions change, but truth can remain. Tomorrow may feel different. You may not feel the same intensity. That does not mean this moment was false. Carry its meaning rather than chasing its feeling. Remember what you learned when the emotion becomes quiet. You learned that you can stay. You learned that you can be seen and remain safe. You learned that vulnerability does not always end in rejection. You learned that your attention has power. You learned that small moments can become sacred. You learned that the heart can return after distraction. You learned that truth can be faced without shame. You learned that healing does not require you to become perfect before beginning. You learned that the door to presence remains open. These lessons will become anchors if you practice them. Do not leave them as beautiful thoughts. Turn them into choices. Create time for silence. Seek safe support. Speak honest words. Protect necessary boundaries. Release burdens that belong to others. Treat your body with care. Allow joy. Forgive gradually. Repair what you can. These are not separate from your spiritual life. They are the ways truth becomes embodied. A belief that never affects your choices remains distant. Let love become visible in the way you treat yourself and others. Let trust become visible in the way you release control. Let healing become visible in the boundaries you honor. Let humility become visible in your willingness to apologize. Let courage become visible in your decision to leave what is harmful. Let hope become visible in your willingness to begin again. Your life will become the evidence of what silence taught you. My beloved child, you stayed long enough to hear what noise had hidden. Now do not abandon what you have heard. The world will become loud again. Responsibilities will return. People will need things from you. Old habits will invite you back into automatic living. Remember that you can pause. Remember that you can return. No matter where you are, the doorway remains near. It opens whenever you offer honest attention. You do not need to escape your life to find presence. Presence can meet you within your life. It can meet you before a meeting, during a difficult conversation, or while you sit alone at night. It can meet you in joy and grief. It can meet you when you feel faithful and when you feel uncertain. Nothing about your humanity prevents the meeting. You are not required to become less human in order to become more connected. Bring your whole self. Bring the body that becomes tired, the mind that wanders, and the heart that sometimes fears. Bring your hope, desire, anger, and questions. Bring what is beautiful and what is unfinished. You are known. You are not rejected. You are being invited into a life where truth no longer requires hiding. Stay with that invitation. Let it become more powerful than the voices that taught you to run. You do not need to run from silence. You do not need to run from emotion. You do not need to run from yourself. You can remain. You can breathe. You can listen. You can choose. The person who remains present becomes able to live with intention. The person who lives with intention becomes less controlled by fear. The person who is less controlled by fear becomes more capable of love. This is the path opening before you. It begins here, quietly. No audience, no applause, and no dramatic display. Only a heart that chose not to leave. That choice was enough to begin. Continue from here with patience. Do not demand that every day prove the entire transformation. Let today offer one step. Let tomorrow offer another. The path will become visible through walking. And when you feel that you have lost your way, return to the simplest truth. You are not alone. You do not need to solve everything before coming close. You do not need to hide until you become stronger. Come tired. Come uncertain. Come honest. Stay long enough to remember who you are. You are not the wound. You are not the rejection. You are not the mistake. You are not the fear that once controlled you. You are a life still capable of growth. You are a heart still capable of love. You are a person still capable of choosing truth. You are not finished. The story has not ended. The silence is not empty. It is holding space for the person you are becoming. Remain in it without fear. Let the old defenses rest. Let the hurried thoughts slow. Let your breathing return you to this moment. You have carried enough for now. You do not need to prove anything else. You have already answered the invitation by staying. Rest in that truth. Let yourself be known. Let yourself be loved. Let yourself heal. And when you rise from this moment, rise gently. Do not rush back into the noise as though nothing happened. Carry the stillness with you. Let it influence your next word, your next choice, and the way you treat your own heart. The sacred moment does not end when the silence ends. It continues through the life you build from what you discovered. You stayed, and staying opened the door. Now walk through it with courage. Walk toward honesty. Walk toward healthy love. Walk toward rest, wisdom, and freedom. Do not look back with shame at the person who once survived through fear. Thank that person for enduring, then allow them to become something new. You no longer need every defense that carried you here. Keep the wisdom and release the fear. Keep the compassion and release the self-abandonment. Keep the strength and release the hardness. Keep the memories that teach and release the bitterness that imprisons. Keep the love and release the need to control. This is how you move forward whole, not by erasing the past, but by refusing to let it remain your master. The future does not need a perfect version of you. It needs an honest, present, and willing version of you. That person is already emerging. I saw that person when you chose to stay. I saw courage beneath the hesitation. I saw trust beneath the questions. I saw hope beneath the guarded heart. What I saw was not perfection, it was willingness. And willingness is enough for transformation to begin. So take one final breath and allow this truth to settle. You are safe enough to be honest. You are loved enough to stop performing. You are strong enough to create boundaries. You are humble enough to receive help. You are free enough to begin again. Nothing must be forced in this moment. Let the truth become quiet within you. Let it move from thought into belief, and from belief into the way you live. My beloved child, you proved it by staying. Now continue to prove nothing and simply remain. Remain connected to truth. Remain open to love. Remain willing to grow. When you fall, return. When you fear, breathe. When you become tired, rest. When you become confused, listen. When you become wounded, seek healing. When joy comes, receive it. Your life does not need to be lived in constant defense. The danger is not everywhere. There are safe people, honest relationships, meaningful opportunities, and peaceful moments still waiting to be experienced. Do not let yesterday convince you that tomorrow can contain only more of the same. You are changing, and changed hearts create different choices. Different choices create different patterns. Different patterns create a different life. It begins with attention. It continues through courage. It becomes visible through faithfulness. You have already begun. Stay present for what comes next. Not with fear, but with expectation. Not with pressure, but with openness. You do not need to know the entire path. You only need to recognize the next honest step. Take it gently. Take it bravely. Take it knowing that you are no longer walking as the person who first entered the silence. You are leaving with greater awareness, deeper compassion, and a new understanding of your own worth. The world may look the same when you return to it, but something within you has shifted. You now know that silence can hold presence. You now know that being seen can become safety. You now know that staying can become the beginning of freedom. Carry that knowledge with you. And whenever life becomes too loud, return again. Give me your attention, not your performance. Give me the truth, not the image. Give me the moment you actually have, not the perfect moment you keep postponing. I will meet you there, in the ordinary, the unfinished, the uncertain, and the real. You stayed today. You can return tomorrow. You can return as many times as necessary. The invitation remains. The door remains open. The presence remains near. You are seen. You are known. You are loved. Now breathe, rise, and live from that truth.